etc. Okay guys, Nate from the 80/20 Drummer here, and I've just been practicing a song from Nate Smith's Kinfolk record called Skip Step. And the example you just saw is pretty far along toward this Nate abandoning that Nate's original groove and messing with it and trying to throw in some of my personal stuff as if someone put the chart in front of me and I'd never heard the other recording. So why am I doing a lesson about Skip Step? A few reasons. Number one, it's an awesome tune. In fact, let's roll a little bit of tape of the Tiny Desk recording of Skip Step. Okay, so you can see it's Herbie Hancock, perhaps Headhunters-esque, and in an odd meter. So let me spec out how this lesson's going to go. First, we'll talk about the meter. Then we'll talk about the exact beat that Nate's playing and the kind of minimum effective beat. If you were to play this, how to get 90% of the meat off of that. And then we'll talk about how to mess with it a little bit and some other Nate Smith personal stuff I like to do with it. So first and foremost, let me just click this off for you and I'll sing the bass line. 3, 4. Bow down. Bow 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 down. Bow 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 down. Bow 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 down. Bow 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 down. Bow 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 down. Bow 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 down. Bow 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 down. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Apologies for being out of tune. So let's break down what's happening in those meters. It's a big bar of 4, a big bar of 3, and then a bar of 3/8. So bow down, bow 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 down, bow 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 down, bow 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 down, bow 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 down. So let's play it. 3, 4. Bow down, bump 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 bow down, bump bump. Down, bump, 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 bow down, bump, bump, bump. Right, so if you're just to play those bars, 3, 4. So that's the time signature, and of course it's going to be easier if you think about the beat. Technically it's 17/8. I guess if you want to put that whole phrase together, if I were writing it again, I would write it 4/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/8, just so you can kind of conceive of it that way. And Nate obviously comes from Dave Holland's group, among many others, and one of Dave Holland's sort of signature things was when he wrote odd meters, he would write a catchy bass line for them so that you weren't just counting 1, 2, 3, like 16, 17, 17 and a half. You actually had something to latch on to. So, you know, I'll link to the recording below. You can listen to that. Now, let's talk about the beat that Nate's playing there. And I want to show you kind of the minimum effective beat to that. So it's going to go 3, 4. And of course, he's filling in the gaps. I think if you listen to the studio recording, one of the things he's doing is like that sort of thing. So now let's talk about if you wanted to just practice that minimum effective beat. And we're going to get into some ways where maybe if you weren't even super interested in this song, it's still a cool way to deconstruct a beat and maybe make your playing a little bit stronger. So first and foremost, I'm just going to tease apart the first bar of this and loop it over and over again, because essentially that's what the whole groove is. It's a transformation of this bar of 4 with a missing beat on the end and this turnaround in 3/8. So the texture, how do we put this? The orchestration of the first bar is this. 3, 4. And I think one of the coolest things to do there is just play eighth offbeats on the hats. So 3, 4. And so how do you practice this to make your time better? Let's talk about some metronome placements. Downbeat, obviously, you want to hook up on the downbeat. Another one is an eighth note upbeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But what's really funky, and when you want to lock in with a guitar that's maybe doing a wah type of thing, is 16th note upbeats. So 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. And you can just have the metronome clicking along. So you can embellish that, again, with some extra hi-hat notes. And if you listen to the Tiny Desk recording, Nate's often filling in all of the sixteenths with this kind of Gordy Knudsen, Moeller, play all the sixteenths thing, which quite frankly I'm practicing, but I'm not super adept at. I don't necessarily hear those ideas quite as much. But let me show you something you can do. I invented this little thing that should be transcribable that would be cool for you to practice, which is 3, 4. So just the hats. So the simplest way to do it is just with quarters on the kick drum. 3, 4. But then you can incorporate that 1E or 3E in the kick drum that's on the third beat, and you're going to have. So 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2. So getting this clean is going to be a cool exercise. So you can literally just play. And I flam these last two, don't do that. So incorporating the tom note back in. 3, 4. Okay, so then what is the rest of the pattern? You play that bar 4, then you play almost that far, but you cut it off at 3. So 3, 4. Right? 1, 2, 3. And then you just play the turnaround. So 3, 4. And that's one way to do it. Another way I like to do this is by playing straight floating quarter notes tied over the bar line with the right hand. So here's what that'll sound like. 3, 4. So you can practice that, and that helps you keep the big beat straight. But the really subtle stuff actually is when you're playing all the eighth notes, but you're accenting one or the other. So instead of, it'll be. This is kind of a Jeff Porcaro thing. Again, I'm not super good at, but I'm working on it for that reason. Let's just hear what that would sound like in 4. You get into those kind of subtleties. So you can practice the first bar looped over and over again like this. 3, 4. And then you can practice it the other way. So 3 and 4 and. Right? Because that's when it's going to turn around. So check this. 3, 4. That is surprisingly difficult. So, and a lot of people kind of half-ass this and don't line everything up. But one of the beautiful things about like a Jeff Porcaro or a Steve Gadd is like they're ghosting and it's really loose, but all the little connective tissue locks up, which is, yeah, it's amazing. So the beat with the constant quarter pulse, playing all the eighth notes but accenting every other eighth note. So 3, 4. Yeah, we'll call that last one good enough. It's not perfect. Obviously, I'm still working on this stuff. Okay, so now the fun part. What would Nate do if Nate was reading this track from scratch and hadn't heard, I'm sorry, what would this Nate do if I was reading this track from scratch off of the page? All I heard was the bass line. I hadn't heard any drums. I would probably play along with the bass line in the kick drum. So the bass line again is bow down, bow 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 down. Right? So I'd probably go. And another thing I like to do, I'm going to show you a little lick that I've been getting a lot of mileage out of. This is going to be a lesson all its own. A lot of these concepts can be broken out into lessons all their own. This is kind of an overview, so don't worry about this, but. Three, 4. Chris is going to have a fun week with this. I'm going to owe him a lot. I already owe him a lot. I owe you a lot, Chris. Chris, one of my coaches, great drummer in his own right, who does the transcriptions for us. Cool. So here's how I might incorporate that type of style into playing this beat if I were just reading it off the chart. 3, 4. So again, work in progress with that. Another thing I've been practicing is literally just playing along to songs with zero allegiance to the original beat. And we'll talk about that in a lesson too. So guys, hope this has been a little bit instructive to you guys on the subject of Nate Smith's tune, Skip Step. I'll link below so you can actually buy the record. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this lesson, you think maybe you'd like to study with me a little bit more, I recommend my flagship product, the 80/20 coaching course, which I am markedly not hawking in this video. This video has zero commercial intent, and to wit, I will offer you the gateway drug to my teaching, a completely free 3-video series that you can access by clicking the link below the video player. It used to be up here, now it's below the video player because of the cards issue, forget it. 3 videos, free, which will improve your playing more in the next 3 weeks than you felt it improve in the last 6 months. I know once you check those out, and this is not a suggestion, you're on your own to come back to me for all your instructional needs. Dudes, it's been fun. Once again, Nate from the 80/20 Drummer. A big thanks to my namesake, the original Nate Smith. Check you guys soon. Peace.